Welcome back, folks. Well, if you watched the video I shot today, you got a little idea of just what kind of performance you can expect from the new Bond Arms Rough and Rowdy 45 Colt /410. Now, I had a lot of fun with this little pistol. We took it out there. We shot some of the Winchester Super gray box cowboy action load 250 grain soft lead flat nose bullet. Ain't nothing special, pretty mild, made for cowboy action shooting. But at 750 feet per second, as it's established and advertised velocity, it still packs a pretty good punch. Now, we took it out there. I fired 15 rounds. One of the things I noticed, and it's immediately apparent, and I apologize that in the range video there were some bullet strikes you didn't get to see. I wasn't expecting quite the disparity in point of impact versus point of aim between the barrels. I thought there might be an inch or two. There was closer to about 5 3/4, almost 6 inches. Now, this weapon has fixed sights. Got a big old gray ramp cut out back here, and when you put them together and get a full sight picture, this ramp fills this gap. There's almost no light on either side, so it's a really fine sight picture. And both groups shot just about an inch, just a tad more to the left of center of my point of aim. But that might very well have been me just losing sight of whether or not this front sight was absolutely center in the rear sight groove. But it shot very well. We were going to shoot at 14 and then move to 5. But with the accuracy and the grouping it got at 14, I felt that was probably just, here's one of them big words, superfluous. It was just going to shoot better, right? But it did a really good job. On firing this weapon off of a rest, if you have one or you're going to get one and you're going to shoot it off a rest to see what it does, pay attention to this little caveat. When I fired this weapon, I had a two-handed grip on a rest, but my hands were resting on the bag. You don't want to rest the bottom of the pistol or the barrels on the bag. That's going to put stress on them. Now, because these barrels swing up, you don't want that. This latch is real strong as opposed to Derringers of old, where you just turned it and lifted them out, put them back and turned it back. This one is spring loaded, and you can hear that puppy's click in and snap, and I guarantee you it's in there. There's no wiggle, there's no problem at all with that. This weapon, unlike Derringers of old, does have a trigger guard. That comes in handy. That helps when you're shooting. It actually helps give you better control, gives you a plane that you can ride your finger across so that you know you're down there at the bottom of that trigger. And the book, they tell you, and this is very true, when you fire this weapon, you don't want to get a grip where your first knuckle is on the center of the trigger. Just like any other weapon, you want the center of the pad of your finger at the bottom of that trigger. And when you have it there, that trigger is a really nice 6.5 pounds, and they say it improves over time, so that's probably pretty cool. But you don't want to be grabbing your fingers out in front of it and trying to hold this way, because if you do, you'll have a tendency to put pressure up against the barrels. That's a no-no. You don't want to do that. So if you're going to fire two-handed, keep your hands together, just like a regular shooting stance. But other than that, I had a lot of fun with it. Now, you'll see from the grouping that the lower barrel fires dead on. The upper barrel, the group was up there good almost 6 inches higher. and that's to be expected. The sight plane is different, opposed to each barrel. But they're right in there, and I guess, and I'm pretty sure I'd be willing to bet a $20 bill against a hot pig turd that if you was at 4 or 5 feet, that disparity would go away and wouldn't matter much to the bad guy, because I'm pretty sure you'd be moving him back. Now, Derringers have always had the ability, when you cocked it, you were going to fire one or the other, and there's no selector on here that allows you to say, I want to fire this one first. That'd be nice, but they don't have it. What they have is a moving transfer plate that each time you cock the hammer moves to either the upper or the lower position. So if you know your weapon's got that disparity in grouping and point of impact, it's real easy to just say to yourself, okay, if I ever need this and drag it out, I want to shoot the first barrel. I want to shoot that lower barrel as my first barrel. That's easy to do. You can cock that hammer and actually see that plate. It's totally visible. And you can see that it's either down or up. Now right now, that plate is down, which means if I pull the trigger, I fire the lower barrel. Now when I cock that hammer again, it's going to cock, that plate's going to slide up, and it's going to be ready and set to shoot the upper barrel. So I know now that all I got to do, if I want to, and set it for that, go ahead and cock it and release it. I can go ahead and load my weapon, make it ready, and the next time I cock it, that plate's going to shift down to fire the lower barrel. So that's pretty handy, and once you know that, if it really matters to you much, you can work with it. Now, the grips on here, that soft sticky rubber like I like to, man, them puppies work. It didn't shift around in my hand at all. I had some trepidation about the fact that it might, but it didn't. It stayed right there, and on the video for the range, you can actually see that that's occurring. And I really liked it. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, like I said on that sight picture, this is subdued, this is subdued. Really kind of hard to pick up, but once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to do and pretty nice to see. Now, on the subject of those grips, Bond Arms makes extended grips. Just a little bit longer, just long enough that when you've got a proper grip, there's some place to put your little finger. Because right now there's no place for my finger with my big old hand. So they go right on. One screw, these come off, extended one's on, one screw in, you're ready to go. Also another neat thing and another neat feature about the Bond Arms pistols and the Derringers. These barrels, they make a couple dozen different sets for them. And every set of barrels that Bond makes fits every Bond Derringer frame. Now, like I said, this is a 45-410. There's only about, because it shoots shot shells, there's only about 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch of actual rifling at the end of the barrel. And you saw what kind of accuracy it got with that. Well, I'm thinking real serious about getting me a 4.5, maybe a 5-inch set in 45 that is just 45, and that way I'll get full-length rifling. And I'll bet these turn out to be one heck of a fine shooting pistol for really, really accurate stuff, but that's kind of going beyond the pale of what it's really needed for. But you can imagine if the barrel's really, that'd be kind of a cool looking gun, especially if I had one of them extended ivory grips. Oh, man, I'd be cat daddy. I'd be looking like a Kansas City pimp in no time. But I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. I don't see how I couldn't. And like I said, we took it out there, we shot it. We got the grouping that we got better grouping than I expected, especially on that lower barrel. And you can see from the video, it doesn't recoil greatly at all, as much as you would think it would for a 45 Colt out of a weapon this small. But it's good and hefty, it's heavy, it's got a lot of weight, and if you think about getting one, I think you'll enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy this one, and I'm going to be toting it around in my pocket quite a bit. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to watch the other video. Again, I apologize for the fact that the zoom was up just a little too much, and top barrel impacts weren't visible on impact, but later on in the video you can see the group, and so you get a good idea where it was. But it's just me running the camera today. I need to get me a camera girl. Anybody know any camera girls? Oh, I get in trouble for that one, huh? Good thing I don't have a wife or a girlfriend. And them boars, they got a little fouling in them, but I tell you what, this puppy's running good. Extractors are still working fine. They're still tight. There's no wobble in there. And on the subject of changing barrels, see that little set screw? That Allen head set screw, type screw? Well, that's all you got to do is run that puppy out, drop your new barrels in, run it in, cinch her down, get her tight like the book says, and you're good to go. You can have a pistol that shoots a half a dozen different calibers, and all you got to do is change the barrels. MSRP on this weapon is $299, and that's what I paid for this weapon. $299 at my local dealer. Give them a little plug. Mustang Pawn and Gun. Go see Jeff and Leroy and Alan and Randy, the owner. He's really good people. I've been doing business with him since about 30 plus years, and I've never had a bad time with him. They do great work. They're willing to help you with anything you got. They answer all your questions, and if they ain't got it in the store, they'll get it. And if they can't get it, well, you don't need it. So anyway, Bond Arms, rough and rowdy. And it's rowdy as hell, but it ain't nearly as rough as you would think it is. So it's going to be a fun little gun. And thanks for tuning in. And, I wonder what I'm going to do next. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching. Bond Arms, rough and ready. Sounds like a Chris LeDoux song, don't it? Bye.